Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Pro Division in the Mountain Tournament. The video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, so let's go. Here I'm going to play from the second tee, which is for Pro and also Expert Division, but the wind is going to be different when it comes to Pro and Expert, so it's very important that you watch the correct playthrough if you're going to play Pro, and if you're going to play Expert, you're going to watch the other one. Which is going to be different wind. Otherwise, it's going to be tough, and you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're not going to be able to follow the notes and the advice that I'm giving you. Also, check down in the video the description down below so you can get the direct timestamp for all the holes, but also the link to the text guides for the Mountain Tournament, and also the link to the store that we're having, and also to Patreon if you want to book a training session. First, here I'm going to play with a power 3 ball, the Titan, and an extra mile level 7, max topspin, max side spin. I'm going to leave a little bit of room to the right side here using the red ring as a reference from cutting the rough on the right. I'm not adding anything for elevation, so we play it just as it is, max distance of our club. Then it's going to give ourselves 3.5 rings, and if you feel uncomfortable going with overpower, then you play without, because you're still going to clear the bunker anyway. But if you do want to go a little bit more aggressively, gain a little bit more yards, then go with some slight overpower, so you do gain a little bit more distance there, and then you will line yourself up for a short iron instead of having a long iron. And I think I can just go to myself that if I do play with a short iron, I'm definitely going to be more accurate than I'm going to be with my long iron. At least that is my way to see it. So you can see as well that I did go with full curl to the right as well, even if we did have wind pointing left to right. And that is something to also have in mind, is that the fairway on the right do push our ball up towards the left, and then we need to go with curl and also side spin so we're not getting too high to the left, even though it will not be any type of problems to get the ball to green from the rough anyway. So, but now from this position here, we're going to have a very good opportunity in my opinion. I do believe this is going to be a shot that is going to be, what can I say? We need to get this one in the hole at some point. Not necessarily every single time, but with a short iron, with a flat green as it is, then we're definitely going to have to play it good. I wish I would be in thorn range for the dunk, then I would be going for the dunk, but now I'm using 5 bars of backspin, and the reason I'm using 5 bars is that I do want to aim directly on the green for my first bounce. Then I'm going to aim a little bit to the left of the pin, just the edge of the cup to the left. And then from this distance we're going to add 10% to our adjustment, as the green is on a lower point. Then we are taking a shot, which means that we're playing downhill. 3.8 rings here with the 7 miles per hour wind, 10% extra. You can see us hitting the ball perfect, but we're coming in too much to the right, and that is because we're not adjusting enough for the impact that that is going to be for the bounce. So we really need to pay attention to that for the next time, and use approximately half a square to the left side of the pin as an extra adjustment for the pin, for the bounce. So second shot here, and now you're going to see our opponent using, you can take a look at the wind here now and just remember that. Now our opponent is having a little bit tailwind here, using a power 2 ball, max top spin, max side spin to the right, and also almost max curl to the right as well. Doing one bounce, reaching over to the rough to bounce over to the fairway. Our opponent did have a wind that was in between crosswind left to tailwind completely. So some tailwind slash crosswind. Look at the wind that we are having here. We are not having even remotely close of the wind that our opponent is having, which makes us having less tailwind. That is going to be a problem for us if we're going to try to clear everything directly, even with an extra mile level 8. So the thing that I'm doing here is that I'm going to go for a double bounce. I know the double bounce isn't that preferred in my opinion, but with almost straight crosswind we can read the ball guideline a little bit better. So I'm going to line up with max distance of my club. I'm going to adjust my rings, and I'm going to push myself up to max range again. Slight amount of curl to the right, combined with max topspin right, max side spin right and max topspin as well. Then we're going to have no problem doing the double bounce. That shot can be made with an extra level 6, level 7, level 5 as well. And the problem is, again, with this hole, is like, if we would be having the wind as our opponent would have with the club that we had, then I would be going max overpower as well to put myself with a single bounce over. That's why I'm using a power 3 ball. So it's not necessary to play with an extra level 8, definitely not, but after been playing this hole over several accounts to try some different drives out, and also putting myself deliberately amongst the trees on the left to see, are the trees still not in play, as before they weren't in play, but they are in play now, so we can't shoot through them. And that is important for me to say, that because if you then feel that the drive is going to be too hard for you and you're going to put yourself some of the times amongst the trees on the left, then it would be better to just line up and go for the double bounce, or use a quarterback to just line up and to the top of the fairway there, and then go from there, really. Now second shot, I do have the Goliath level 8, too high of a level for pro, but to just show this hole, it was necessary to do so. You could play this shot, of course, with whatever long iron you want. You do want to add a little bit of adjustment for the bounce that we're going to have. The problem now is that we did not hit the spot where we wanted to. As for hitting the ball, great, we're coming in more to the left, and then we're going to be pushed more to the right. Sounds weird, but yeah, that is how that new type of fairway is working there. So, hole number 3. Now we're going to take away the Kingmaker, and we're going to play with the Navigator. The reason we're taking that away is that we do not want to be in between the clubs, and I do want to play with my Sniper. You can see me first and foremost lining up with max backspin and 1 bar of side spin. Then in the end, I'm taking away that last piece of backspin, almost 1 bar, because you can see here on the ball guide, it looks like we're going to have no problem to get this one to stop before the pin. 10% extra adjustment, and we're going to also play it from minimum distance of our club. It's going to be 5.4 rings. And the problem we get here is that we do not adjust enough for the bounce. You can see how far the ball is bouncing. We're coming in pretty straight on target, but we're bouncing over the pin. And that is because we're not adjusting enough for the extended ball guideline that we're going to get with tailwind. Very important to have in mind when playing this hole. So our opponent's going to play with a big dart that is just meant to fail, unfortunately. So you can see here going very long and going to fall and have a long putt, and that is of course something that we do want to stay away from, and we do want to have at least an opportunity to make that hole in one. I think the Sniper backspin approach is definitely going to be it. Hole number 4. Now we're going to play right side. We're not going to try to do anything special here, and we are just going to line up using the shadow as a reference. I'm going to show you with my adjustment how we're going to do. So our opponent using a Quasar, you can play with basically whatever ball here. I would suggest though that you do play with a ball with some side spin. I think that is going to be very important, especially for the second shot, as then we're going to have crosswind left to right when we're approaching the pin, and that is, at least in my opinion, is going to be important. So I'm playing with extra mile level 7, and I'm actually going to play with max distance of my club. I could go with a quarterback if I want to, with a power 3 ball as well. 3 bars of topspin, 1 bar of side spin to the right, as we're still having wind that is pushing us to the right as well. And then we don't need to use more side spin. 5% extra in adjustment here, going to leave us with 3.5 rings. And as you can see, 3 bars of topspin, that is my regular adjustment with spin when it comes to having tailwind. If I would be having a crosswind, I would be going 4. If I would be having headwind, I would be going 5. That is my spin adjustment for this hole. The reason for that as well is that I do not want to push it too hard. It is enough to be in the distance that we are now, because we have secured it with having a ball that first and foremost has distance, but also second of all is having some side spin. And then we don't have to danger anything when it comes to the rough and the sand. So our opponent is using 1 bar of backspin, if I didn't see it incorrectly, and then have to adjust down in the down to the rough. And I think that is the reason we are using side spin, is to not endangering the rough there at all. Now this shot becomes pretty decent, coming in a little bit hot, but use the side spin in that situation so we stay away from having that much rough to play with. Because if we, let's say we just slip and hit our ball great or good to the left side, then we're going to endangering the rough and the sand. So now I'm just going to play it max side spin, 3 bars of backspin, also relying on the ball guideline a little bit here. You can see the same type of structure on the other playthroughs, playing this one with the second bounce just by the fringe. And we do over adjust around 1 square like grid on the green in terms of for the push that we're going to get to the right, as this ball is going to be pushed a little bit more to the right than normal. Also, we're going to adjust this shot for being in, we should be adjusting it for being in minimum distance of our club, but I'm adjusting it for being in between minimum and medium distance of our club. And all those things together will make us miss it to the left. We're still having a good speed of our ball, but we do miss left as we do first and foremost do over adjust due to the push that we're going to get from the bounce, but also that we do over adjust when it comes to rings. And we need to I would say play it from minimum distance and then still over adjust 1 grid on pin there. Then you're going to be, if not in, you're going to be very, very close. So hole number 5, the toughest hole in the whole tournament, and this hole is not going to invite us for any nice play. And now I'm playing with a quarterback level 10, but this is the same type of approach you're going to play with the quarterback level 9, 8, 7, 6. Playing straightforward, using the wind, the topspin on your club to get as close to the rough there on top as possible. 10% extra in your adjustment as we're playing downhill. I will also have to tell you that I've been playing this shot with a berserker combined with a big topper level 4. Max overpower, just hit it slight great instead of perfect. Max topspin, and I went into the rough and I couldn't reach over to the other side. So my suggestion is to not try that shot if you're not having, let's say, a big topper level 6 with even more yards, or you maybe have an apocalypse level 6. Then you of course can question why you're playing down in pro, but in the end then you can try it. Otherwise you need to lay up short and we need to go from that position. So second shot here now, when we reach to a decent distance, is that you can either go for the rough bump on the left between in the gap there of the trees, or we can just go straight forward using topspin and try to gain as much distance as possible. Then we need to apply some overpower if we're going straight. And then the only thing is to stay away from the rough on the right side, because the rough on the right side is going to put the trees in play. Now we're going to gain enough distance here to put ourselves for an open shot towards the pin. Also, you can see me playing with a big dog level 8, and I want to mention that as well. And the reason I'm doing so is because I did run out of accounts with similar amount of clubs for players that are playing rookie. But of course, that type of play is going to be available to play with whatever level of the big dog that there is. And if you go too short on the fairway and you cannot reach over the rough that sticks out from the right there in the center, then you should always go with the rough bump to bounce yourself out on the fairway to the left, so you do at least have an open shot with your wood club towards the pin. Now you can see we are going to be in the medium distance of our club, and we're going to line up. We're not going to use that much in terms of over adjusting for the bounce, as we do not need to. I'm going to use the edge of the cup to the right. And 7.2, we're not going to add anything for elevation adjustment here, playing at 3.6 rings. And as you can see, for the result, it's going to be slightly over adjusted, and something that we need to bring with us for the next time, because this is a shot that we need to get it closer than that, but at least that is a shot that is a very possible eagle attempt for us, and something that I do believe that we need to get. If we're not getting anything else, we do need to strive for that -12 when it comes to over 9 holes. Then that could be a key shot. So 3 bars of 2.5 bar side spin left with a navigator, or like max side spin with a navigator, 3 bars of backspin, having the half of the blue ring in the rough on top there. And then we're going to play this one from medium distance, adding 10%, aiming deliberately a little bit to the right of the pin, because we do want to have a better second bounce. Slightly, what can I say, 6 rings is our adjustment there, and that is something that we're going to get very, very close for. This is definitely going to be a very good opportunity for us to make an hole in one. Something that I will have to say is that, again, they have been making some changes with the screen. Also, it's more flat in the end, and also we can't get the same roll. But that just, as you can see, played it 6 ring for 6 miles per hour. And that could definitely be a one-on-one adjustment if that is something that you want to go with. Navigator as a ball will be totally enough. You can play with a basic ball as well, but I do like to play with a little bit of size. But you can see it's coming down towards the pin, but it is not going to be exactly the same thing as it was before. So we do take a birdie on that one, and then we go to hole number 7. Hole number 7 is going to give ourselves a wind that we definitely could be trying to go for the green in one. But that it was discussed, and I did get the question like from several players already on an early stream that I did, and it's so dependent on the driver, in my opinion. Let's say you would be having a driver like the XMile level 8, you would be having a driver like Apocalypse 456, Thor Salmon 456, then I would definitely go for it. The reason I'm not feel that an XMile level 7, because that was the driver I had, well, the reason I don't feel an XMile level 7 will be enough is that we're going to have to play with such a small and close margin to the rough on the left there, that I don't like it. I don't enjoy that at all. And when I feel that, okay, this is basically something that we're sometimes going to miss, sometimes we're going to hit it, then I rather play it safe and go with maybe a little bit tougher approach for the second shot compared to being close to the green for my first shot, but then try to wedge it in and find the adjustment here instead. So I do pick the quarterback if I don't have the driver for it, and I do play myself straightforward using the ball guideline and the accuracy to get myself very close there. Also adding 10% extra to my adjustment because we're playing this one downhill, and this is a hole where the wind is going to affect your ball a little bit more than normal. So our opponent goes for the short version here, and I think that could be a way to play as well. If you don't feel comfortable with anything going over the water or going straight forward, then you can play up short and have a wood club towards the pin. Now we're going to play with the thorn in max distance, and I kind of like this adjustment with this type of wind, and I'm going to go max backspin and 1 bar of side spin to the right, as we do have the wind pointing a little bit to the left. Look on how I compensate for my shot now. I'm actually compensate almost all the way over to 1 grid to the right side of the pin with my ball guideline in the end. I'm still on the left side of the pin, adjusting 4 rings from that position. And now you can see on the bounce here that the wind and the bounce we're going to get will push us more back towards the left, and we still need to just take away a little bit of the adjustment that compensate, and we're going to get that one in the hole. So just going with half a square to the right instead would definitely be the best way there. So okay, hole number 8. Sniper, I'm going to play Kingmaker, reduce the wind as much as possible, 2 and a little bit more, just a tiny bit more backspin than 2. Just having the ball guideline on the left side of the cup, having a little bit of the red ring cutting the rough on the top there. You can see it's basically like 10% of the red ring or something like that. Then we do adjust 20% extra for this adjustment. Medium distance with 4.7 is going to give ourselves 5.5 rings approximately, and that is what we're going to play it. And we're running out of time. Very close. We hit it and we get it to bounce, and we roll very nicely, taking the pin in from hole in 1. And this is definitely going to be a shot where we can drop on hole in 1 more times. The thing that players will be having a problem with is when they do not compensate for, first and foremost, for the headwind that we're going to have, that the ball is going to stop or have a more compressed ball guideline than it shows here. And that is going to be very important to have in mind, so we're not using like 3 bars of backspin or more, even though the ball guideline shows that we're going to bounce over. Also add the 20% extra to the adjustment and play it from medium distance of your club. And then you're definitely going to be in a situation where you're going to be very close, if not in. So our opponent do get what's going to happen for some, and sometimes it's going to happen when you hit great as you lose some distance. Now we're going to go directly in to hole number 9. And hole number 9 is going to be an interesting hole in terms of that if you mess up your drive, then you are not going to be able to make the eagle if you're not wedging it in or like shipping it in from very long distance. Max side spin, 2 bars to top spin using a Kingmaker, and you can definitely play with another ball if you want to. I'm not going to like stretch out that much. I'm just tiny stretching it out with adjusting to get it up there. I'm going to play this shot for the 6.3. I'm going to go with 3.5 rings. Max side spin, as I said, 2 bars of top spin. Don't use more than 2 bars. And max curl with extra mile level 7. It is slightly great on the left side, shouldn't be a problem, even though it's very dangerous to hit it great on the left side there. Coming in very nicely, going to have no problem to stay before the rough and the sand, which otherwise is the thing that causes the most trouble. So our opponent here went into the rough, and you can see here, even with tailwind, it's not going to be possible to reach for the green in 2. And that is something that we really need to have in mind. That we're just playing our drive very conservative, of course not too conservative that we put ourselves very far away from it, but if adjusting it properly, we're going to have no problem. And also when it comes to the drive, we add 10% extra to our adjustment there as we're playing it downhill. So our second shot, it's going to be with a big dog, and you can see me having a lot of distance here. And something that we can actually play with 1 bar of backspin to just make totally sure that we're going to get this ball to stay on the green. And as I mentioned when playing this hole earlier, is that I rather take an adjustment that I know that I'm going to go a little bit short on the green than endangering rolling over the green into the rough or into the sand. From this position, we also have an opportunity to go straight at the pin, but that is going to be very hard and also dangerous, especially if we do hit the ball great. Now I hit the ball great, and it's just lucky that my adjustment was a good one in general, as otherwise we would be endangering the rough on the left there. So this, ladies and gentlemen, this was the playthrough for Pro Division in the Mountain Tournament. And I do believe we're going to see a score around minus 27 plus to be able to win in pro. I know it's going to be tough, but it's definitely going to be possible, especially with some tailwind and not that hard winds in general. And if you do have any question, please let me know in the comment section. I'll be very happy to help you out with your game. Also, the video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. So here in the end, I want to wish you the best of luck in the mountain tournament.